How we doing? How we doing? This is Destination Denver, Colorado, and today, what are the people in Denver even like? We're talking about them starting right now. This is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everett. And listen, if you're interested in learning all the ins and outs, pros and cons to moving to or around Denver, Colorado, then this is a channel for you. So that subscribe button and notification icon popping up on your screen, make sure you click on that as I'm dropping new videos for you each and every week. And listen, as much as I love trying to be a little creative and educational here on these videos, I'm also a licensed mortgage broker covering the entire state of Colorado and team with some of Denver's most talented realtors. So the number and email popping up on your screen, know that I'm always the person answering your phone calls, answering your texts, answering your emails, there when and if you need me. Now that we have that fun-filled stuff out of the way, let's get to what we're here for, and that is, what are the people of Denver like? All right, so for what it's worth, niche.com rated Denver the number 11 city in the nation for young professionals. What does that mean? I don't know. I just thought it was a rating in our favor, so I figured I would launch with it. But in reality, when it comes to the people of Denver, let's talk about location. No, I don't mean like bad neighborhoods. I mean location of just kind of the energy and the people that you're going to run into. So let's start with downtown Denver. So there are certain cities, Manhattan, New York comes to mind, in which Manhattan has all sorts of different people living there, but also, you have families, you have single people, you have couples, you have families, you got a variety of living. Downtown Denver, you do see some families living in downtown Denver, but for the most part, it is single people, couples, packs of roommates, things like that. You don't see a lot of families living in these high rises. So, certainly, obviously, you have families going down to Denver for things, for sporting events, for concerts, for dinner. But as far as living there, so if you're out in certain communities, chances are you're running into younger people out and about, hitting bars, hitting restaurants. Again, I'm not saying they're the only people that go. I'm saying they're the people that tend to live downtown already, and they're also the people that tend to travel downtown for those activities. So your experience downtown will be, in my opinion, different from your experience as you get into neighborhoods outside of downtown, such as the Highlands or Sloan's Lake or Rhino, which some would still consider downtown. And then obviously as you get into the suburbs, where you get into a slower pace of living, people who maybe aren't still in or weren't ever into that downtown vibe. So when we talk about Denver, we got to talk about the fact that you have your locals, you have your natives, and then you have this huge melting pot effect. We've had a ton of people move to Colorado over the last several years. So kind of one of the reoccurring jokes, it's two-sided on this. My nose is just gonna itch the entire time I make videos today. But one of the reoccurring themes is that you have locals, natives, who like to put bumper stickers on their car that tell people they're natives, and they like to remind you a million times they were born and raised here. I was born and raised here. I just don't feel the need to be that predominant about it. And then you have them complaining about all the people that moved here, and then you have all the people that moved here kind of complaining about the locals being so locally. But in reality, Denver has, like I mentioned in the beginning, become much more of a melting pot than it was maybe 10 to 15 years ago. Among the more humorous things that I find about locals and natives such as myself is how I say mountains. They pronounce it mountains. I mean, I can't. You're gonna hear it. Now that I say it, watch another video. Don't like it as much as mine, but watch another video about somebody talking about Denver and wait until they say mountains. And it's just the way they really make sure you hear the N in mountains. I don't know. I can't do it. I can't copy it. The other thing that cracks me up, and I admit, I think it's a high school thing. I don't think it's as predominant as it once was, but I think there's just this moment in time for certain locals where they all of a sudden they start wearing cowboy hats and cowboy boots. I'm really aging myself because someone's going to watch this video and be like, Jimmy, that shit stopped in the 90s. but you get like this slight phase of cowboyness from people right around that high school and early 20s age when we're not cowboy. Denver's not the Old West. Okay, Yellowstone, we don't have any of that shit here, at least not anywhere near Denver. I know, so helpful so far that we wear cowboy boots. So the other thing about Denver is that you hear about how outdoorsy we are, and I do think the people here are very outdoor driven, and I think a lot of the people that move here are outdoor driven. So, and if they're into it, they're into it. If you meet somebody who likes to hike, prepare for them to talk about hiking a lot. Biking, 14ing, which is of course hiking, fishing. If they're into golf, whatever those things are, they're going to talk about it a lot. Skiing and snowboarding, massive. But something that I really like about the people here, and again, this is not a local thing. I think this is just kind of being in Colorado and how people are, is that there's always somebody that if you're interested in what they do, if they are a skier and you say, man, I'd really like to go skiing, everybody just seems to be, yeah, come with us. I'll show you how to ski. I'll show you how to, I'll help you learn how to mountain bike. I got into mountain biking a couple years ago. I started asking people about my mountain biking, and all of a sudden I had people that I had never met before inviting me to come mountain biking with groups. So I think they're very inclusive in that regard. And people who CrossFit, they are more than happy to show you how to do a pull-up in the worst possible way. They'll teach you that in a heartbeat. One of the things, as I was asking, my friends, colleagues, clients about this video, one of the things that they pointed out and I found interesting is that Denver is a very career-driven community. And that's not to say that like everyone is a little David Goggins and just getting after it. But there is this idea of what do you do? What are you pursuing? How much money do you make, or what's the next goal? And I think that drive, you really feel it, especially in downtown. If you head to a brewery, you head to a bar, amongst people trying to meet each other. With respect to that, it's not like I didn't do that in the past. But that tends to be a huge part of the conversation. And I think that ties back to the very first thing I said. On niche.com, they talked about this being a great city for young professionals. I think you get a lot of, not just young, you get a lot of motivated people and driven people, and those people tend to connect with each other very well and inspire each other. And one of the big things that you'll hear about Denver is the hipster atmosphere. And I do believe that you have to be like assigned a Patagonia hat or a Patagonia coat within a certain amount of days in Colorado. I almost feel like I should be kicked out of Colorado because I don't own anything Patagonia, I don't think. But it's just one of the things here. And so it's hilarious because when you talk about the people here, you'll go out, you'll go out on the town or you go out to a restaurant and you'll see some people that appear to be like a fashionista. They've been watching the Kardashians too much. And then you've got like Bill over here in the same bar and he looks homeless, but is not in fact homeless. And I think, when I talked about people who enjoy doing things, being inclusive about it, people being driven, I also think that the melting pot effect of Denver makes people very inclusive if you're outgoing enough to try to meet people. What I mean by that, I know friends and colleagues who have moved to Denver within the last year, 2 years, 3 years, and they put forth effort to go to different events, to go to different happy hours, whatever the case may be, and meet different people. And in a short period of time, in a year or two, they've amassed, friend groups, and healthy friend groups for that matter, that, heck, they have more friends than me. I think they try harder at it. But no, I think that it's easy to do so. Now, I think when we talk about the people of Denver, and again, that melting pot effect, I think that in people watching this, we're coming from different communities. And I think there are different energies about different locations. I lived in New York for a while. I lived in Hawaii, Connecticut, Ohio. I will say, in my humble opinion and in my experience, there's nothing like the Midwest. And anybody from the Midwest will tell you there's a hospitality level that's just different. I literally have more of a high school friends in Ohio than I have high school friends that I grew up with in Colorado, just because of how welcome they are. The Midwest is the type of place where you walk into a house and you're instantly friends with their siblings, their parents, the grandparents, just is. Denver has some of those traits. I think the people of Colorado, the locals, the natives, they're welcoming. They're pretty laid back. I do think, as we've talked about that population increase, that there has been this defensiveness to some. There's some people in Colorado, in Denver, that really liked old Denver. They liked less population. They liked a downtown, apparently, that nobody ever went to. They liked their Denver, and they get defensive about it. But I do think that's also a small percentage of the people here. I think for the most part, especially those who have stuck around, have embraced that the city has grown. They've embraced the people who have moved here, except for people from California who can't drive. We've been hearing that for like 30, 40, 50 years. That inclusion continues to grow. So overall, what are the people in Denver like? Well, I mean, just think about me and then make them, a lot cooler, probably more handsome and more charismatic. And there you have it. Why is Denver a great place to live? Man, sunshine, outdoors, good people, good things to do. I'd say overall, the vibe of Denver, if we could just rip off the native signs, cool down on that a little bit, maybe, share the Patagonia, maybe teach a kid how to snowboard, it'll be all right. And if you have some thoughts on the people of Denver, if you visited, I'd love to get your input. And that's the perfect opportunity to hit me up, whether it's a phone call, a text, an email. You know who's answering it each and every time, if and when you need me. In the meantime, this is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everett. That was What Are the People of Denver Like? Until I see you next time, peace.